Today in Awesome Stories, we're going to talk about a sci-fi horror film called Pandorum. Spoilers ahead. We start in a spaceship where three members of a flight crew receive a message that they are the only humans left. A man, Corporal Bauer, wakes up screaming from hypersleep and is ejected out of his pod. After cleaning himself, he searches for the rest of his flight crew, but no one is in sight. He wears his uniform and tries to open the hypersleep pod of Lieutenant Peyton, his commanding officer. Unable to do so, he shaves his face, but he's startled when the ship has a power surge and ends up opening Peyton's pod. Peyton doesn't know where he is, but Bauer tells him he's just woken up from extended hypersleep and is suffering from disorientation. Bauer remembers that they are aboard the Elysium, an intergalactic spaceship. Bauer also remembers his training, but not the mission and where they are supposed to be going. They look behind a door where there should be a bridge and see tools on the floor, indicating that someone was trying to escape the place. Peyton is able to power the station and they initiate a transmission on the radio, but there's no response. Since they are from Team 5, they question why the previous team didn't wake them up. Another power surge happens and Bauer notices a noise coming from one of the vents. Bauer figures that the second lieutenant must have gone up there since it is the only way out of the room and decides to explore the vents. Peyton tells him to find an exit that he can give him back to open the doors from the outside. Another power surge occurs and Bauer says that the reactor is trying to reset, making Peyton figure he's their technical engineer. Peyton hears bangs noises from the vents but doesn't see anything. Bauer starts getting claustrophobic inside the vent, but Peyton calms him down, telling him he was 8 months inside the hypersleep pod and he must be someone special to be on the mission. Suddenly, Bauer notices he is going down a vent and slides through it, hitting his head on the door. Bauer is able to light up one of his emergency light sticks with his mouth and see the cadaver of Lieutenant Cooper with him. Using the open space on the grid, he opens the door and falls off a bootlocker to an overhead compartment. After losing communication with Peyton, he opens the doors and scans the hallways looking for someone. Bauer hears a noise from behind him and sees a woman, Nadia, trying to open a door. She runs away from him, but he pursues her and finds someone in the dark waiting for him. Thinking he's talking with Nadia, he says he just wants some answers and starts approaching the person, but there's no response. Once he gets closer, he's startled to see a man's corpse being hanged by a wire from the ceiling. Suddenly, Nadia attacks him and, threatening him with a knife, she asks for his boots. Hearing a noise and a light coming towards them, she decides to run, leaving Bauer behind. He sees that the man's corpse is pulled to the ceiling and runs towards the overhead compartment. Once the noise gets louder, Bauer sees something passing through the hallway and decides to investigate to see a humanoid creature hunting for him. As the creature walks to him, he hides inside the vent in the bootlocker and waits for the creature to go away. Suddenly, he hears Peyton on the comms, prompting the creature to stab through the vent and grab Cooper's corpse away. After getting to a safe place, Bauer tells Peyton about the creatures and they agree that they have to get to the bridge and take control of the ship. Since there's no cargo in the ship, they remember that they are on a colonization expedition going to Tanis, an Earth-like planet that can support human life. Bauer remembers that they came in pairs, designed to repopulate the new planet. Because Bauer wants to find his wife, Peyton reminds him that they don't have the maps of the ship and it would be useless since their priority is getting to the control bridge. Bauer finds a security locker with non-lethal anti-riot guns and takes one for himself. He wants to get to the reactor base so he can reset it manually and Peyton decides to guide him to it. Waiting for directions, Bauer sees a creature running through a hallway and decides to hide. Bauer asks Peyton about Pandorum, a mental disease that can be contracted during hypersleep, causing hallucinations and insanity. The disease was responsible for the death of thousands of people evacuated from their ship after the captain went insane. While on the way, a man follows Bauer through the hallway unnoticed. He sees another man being hanged from the ceiling and is startled to discover that he's alive. Bauer frees the man from the trap and finds that his name is Shepard from Team 6. Shepard tells him they have to hide since the creatures are faster and stronger than them. When he tries to get away, lights appear in the hallway, prompting the men to run from them. The men try to hide from them, but Shepard is captured and the hungry creatures start eating him alive. Bauer tries to shoot one of the creatures, but the blast is blocked by a glass window. He runs away again, but trips on a wire that tangles itself on his foot, saving him from falling. While grabbing the tubes on the ceiling, the creature starts pulling him, but a man jumps to him and cuts the wire, saving him. The man is a farmer who belongs to the agriculture crew, but he doesn't speak English, making it difficult for Bauer to communicate with him. Bauer tells him to stay put and leaves him behind trying to get to the reactor. While beating on the bridge's door, Paler hears noise coming from the vent and notices blood running down from his nose. Bauer gets to a housing container and is attacked by Nadia as soon as he opens the door. The farmer appears and helps him, starting a fight with Nadia. Bauer shoots his gun in the air and tells him that they need to work together to survive. He then says that someone needs to help him to get to the reactor since he lost contact with Paler. Nadia is resistant to help them since the reactor is close to where the creatures dwell and no one ever comes back alive, but decides to do it anyway. She takes them to one of the locked doors and opens it just before the creatures can reach them. Nadia shows them the room and they see that she's protecting the world's genetic biosphere, a collection of all Earth's living creatures and DNA samples. Peyton wakes up to a noise inside the room and prepares to defend himself when a man extends his hand and asks for help. The man, Corporal Gallo, is part of the flight crew and says that he came from inside the bridge. The group gets to the hyperbunk's personnel and Bauer notices that most of the pods are empty. They continue walking without the farmer, but end up falling into a pit of decomposing corpses. Bauer gets out of the place, but notices a creature watching them. When he points his light at it, the creature jumps him and pushes him into a wall. Nadia attacks the creature, but it's too fast for her and ends up escaping. While Nadia looks for the attacker, it jumps on her and goes to kill her, but Bauer pushes it off her. They start fighting, but the creature gains the upper hand until the farmer appears. The three join up and are able to drop the creature, stabbing it multiple times until it's dead. Another creature appears and calls for more of them, prompting the trio to run away. A pod opens up and a man gets out of it, making the creatures jump on him and eat him alive. Peyton goes to check on Gallo, who appears to be passed out, and wakes him up. Paler asks what happened on the bridge and why he's covered in blood. Gallo tells him he had to kill his crew members since they had Pandorum. The trio find a hatch and they decide to hide inside, safe from the creatures. They are startled by an old man who's living inside and he welcomes them. He refuses to go down and meet them since he doesn't trust strangers. While preparing them a meal, the man tells them he's a cook and has been living on the ship for a long time. He tells them how the three men on the bridge went crazy after hearing that Earth had perished and the ship had all the humans left in the universe. One of the crew members was traumatized by the news and contracted Pandorum, killing the other two. Consumed by his disease, the man declared himself king and started to play God with the crew members. He would wake up the crew members and cast them out to the cargo hold to fend for themselves and feed on each other. After he got bored of the games, the king returned to his pod and went back to sleep, while the people in the cargo hold reproduced and evolved into a new type of creature. After telling the story, the cook gasses them and puts them to sleep. Bauer wakes up being hanged by chains with his two companions and sees that the cook will cook them and eat them. Bauer tells him that he needs to reset the reactor before it shuts down, making the ship lose all its power, killing everyone inside. The cook decides to help them and take them down off the chains. Bauer is able to communicate with Paler and they conclude that they have 47 minutes before the power shuts down. Paler gives them a path to the reactor and they leave trying to reset it. On the way, they see a small creature looking at them and the farmer goes to kill it, but he's stopped by Nadia, who doesn't want to kill a kid. The creature escapes and calls for the others, prompting the group to hide. Bauer remembers that he enlisted on the ship after his wife left him, not wanting to travel to another planet. Back on the station, Gallo starts telling Paler that they need to get out of the ship before they lose all power, but Paler trusts that Bauer will get the job done in time. The group gets to the reactor and Bauer starts walking on a bridge, but it's too unstable and he almost falls down to the creatures sleeping below. Nadia runs to help him while the farmer holds onto the bridge, but Bauer lets it go anyway before the bridge collapses. Nadia goes to the reactor's panel and initiates the rotation sequence. On the station, Gallo fights with Paler about the mission and says he will get out of the ship no matter the consequences. Now in the middle of the sleeping creatures, Bauer covers himself with old and bloody clothes that he found on the floor, covering his scent. Pointing a needle gun to Paler's neck, Gallo tells him to send him out of the spaceship, but Paler only inputs a simulation, leaving Gallo trapped inside the pod. Crawling among the creatures, Bauer tries to get to the stairs going to the reactor's panel, but the cook accidentally drops a flashlight, waking them up. Trying to get the creature's attention, the farmer drops the bridge and screams, leading them towards him. While the farmer runs away, Bauer resets the reactor, killing the creatures below. The farmer gets out of his hideout and one of the creatures appears and starts fighting him. Nadia and Bauer run away from the creatures, but the cook locks the door behind him, not allowing the couple to pass. The creature bites the farmer, but he's able to stab it and kill it using a piece of metal stuck on his back. He sees the child from before looking at him, but he decides not to kill it, giving the creature the chance to slice his throat. Paler sees that Gallo is out of the pod and decides to attack him. While Gallo is trying to inject him with the needle gun, both men start to become one, as Gallo is able to inject him. Paler is now alone with the needle gun in his hand as he sees the cook approach him. As the cook comes closer, Paler injects the needle gun through his eye, killing him. After barely escaping the creatures, Nadia and Bowler start looking for Paler and find him inside the bridge seated on the captain's chair. Bauer points his gun at him and says that his memory loss has worn off, remembering he's not Paler. The man tells them his name's Gallo, a young corporal who broke the ship's protocols and killed the crew. Bauer wants to know where they are and Gallo opens up the shutters on the bridge's window, revealing that the ship is adrift in deep space with no stars visible. The shock pushes Bauer further toward insanity. Taking advantage of Bauer's mental state, Gallo argues they must maintain the violent society rather than revive civilization. Nadia observes bioluminescent ocean life through the windows, and the computer displays that 923 years have elapsed since the mission launched. The ship reached Tanis 800 years ago and landed itself in the ocean. While Nadia and Gallo fight, Bauer hallucinates a mutant attack and shoots at it, but ends up breaking a window with the blast impact. As water pours into the ship, Nadia and Bauer climb into a hypersleep pod. The flood triggers an emergency protocol which ejects the remaining 1,211 pods to the surface, while Gallo and the remaining mutants drown. Bauer and Nadia surface near a lush coastline, and they witness the other pods ascend. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like. It really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.